All right, and what is up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Fight Forecast. Once again, I am Ryan. He is Adam. We just had an interview a little bit earlier with Cam Arnold, MMA fighter. That will be up a little bit later tonight. And now we're going to go ahead and break down these fights for you for UFC Fight Night Blaydes versus Volkov. Uh, we've been killing it these last couple weeks here. I had a 10 unit winner last week. That if you're not following the podcast and the articles and all the information that we're putting out there, you guys are missing out on some big money. We're doing this every week, and let's make that money again. So starting off here, we got Austin Hubbard versus Max Rokopov. I will kick this one to you. You can start it off. You let me know what you think about this one.
Yeah, I'll be pretty quick about this one. I think our late notice replacement Max Roskopf is probably going to take this one with maybe a second round submission. I'm thinking Hubbard had Joe Selecki in his initial matchup, and it's been a while since we'd seen Joe Selecki, quite a while as a matter of fact. And competition level wise, probably wasn't the greatest level of competition. I think in the original matchup, I might have leaned Hubbard. Not the highest level matchup in my opinion overall, but it looks like Max has a ton of hype behind him for sure, and a pretty huge following with some good submissions and stuff. So I'm gonna go with my gut here on Max Roskopf, and I will have him on DraftKings lineup. I have him in a couple of bets, a couple 2-leg parlays, and on FanDuel as well.
Yeah, I'm basically the same with you here. I do think that honestly, Joe Selecki would have beat Hubbard as well. I think neither of these fighters are very good matchups for Hubbard. Hubbard has a horrible ground game. He gets taken down a lot. He has a 45% takedown defense, which I think would have fit into the game plan for either of those fighters. Um, I don't know if he gets finished. He's only ever been submitted once in his career, though Max does have a great submission game. So there is always that chance of the submission. I don't know if Hubbard quite gets finished, but either way, I think that Max will be able to get enough takedowns as well as throw in some strikes and stuff like that to be some good value on DraftKings. Um, his price has started to rise in regard to betting. When I first looked at the odds and placed my initial bets on Monday, he was on average at this point in time he's gone up to negative 185. So he has up a fair amount in just the past couple days. I still negative 185, though I don't know if I like him quite as negative 161, just because of the uncertainties. He has a lot of hype behind him, but you just never know with these type of fights. Um, so I would probably tame it down to a maybe a 1 unit bet at negative 180, 161. So is Roxanne Modafferi. Uh, I'll be there we go. I stupidly enough had thrown Barber in some parlays Can you hear me now?
You're good.
Okay. Yeah, not quite sure what happened there, but so I stupidly had put Barber in some parlays with Connor, even though Barber was negative 1,000. Added absolutely nothing to the parlay at all, but I thought she was a free space basically. My buddies told me I was absolutely crazy for doing that, and lo and behold, she lost, and I lost a lot of money due to that. Um, so I absolutely hope Roxine loses this fight. Honestly, I think it's a complete toss-up fight. I don't think either of the fighters really show too much in regard to skills. My guess is that the fight more than likely goes the distance, as 27 of Roxine's 40 fights have all gone the distance. Um, so if I had to pick something, I'd probably go with fight goes to the distance negative 265. I like Murphy a little bit on DraftKings just because the fight should go to the distance, and value on this DraftKings slate is absolutely horrible. Anything after 8,000, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. So I do like her a little bit in DraftKings, where I think that the fight should go to the distance. But outside of that, this fight honestly is probably a complete pass to me. What about you?
I'm totally with you. This fight's a total pass for me. Um, it's a total crapshoot. I think if you end up backed into a corner and you need the salary relief, maybe Lauren Murphy on DraftKings. And if you were backed into the corner of a bet, well, I mean, I guess not even backed into a corner there. I feel that's a pretty safe bet. Go to decision prop. If it's too juiced, just don't even mess with it. Yeah, like I said, this is just a time slot filler on this card.
Yeah, so we're basically on the same page there. um, so the next fight here, I like a lot. We got Matt Frivoli versus Frank Camacho. Um, I'll be honest. I think Camacho has one foot out the door. He has looked absolutely horrible since coming to the UFC. Um, Lost 4 out of his last 6 fights. Now, yes, they have been against some pretty big name fighters. Dauber, Geoff, Neal, Darush. So he's fought some pretty big name fighters, but he just hasn't really looked good in any of those fights. He's lost them all. Um, he his chin isn't the greatest, and well, Frivola hasn't shown the best power in the world. I do think that there is a very strong chance that he could get the knockout this fight. I think this line is a little bit off. Uh, right now Frivola is negative 120, and I think it should be a little bit higher than that, honestly. Um, so I definitely have Frivola in my DraftKings lineup at this point in time. I also have a bet on Frivola at negative. I got him negative 115. And I may even throw a unit on him via KO slash TKO at plus 450. I think those are pretty good odds with how many strikes Camacho normally gets hit with per fight. Um, it's one of those things where you eat enough strikes, eventually, you could go down. So I may throw a little something on that as well.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute there. Uh, yeah, at first, I kind of had the same feelings on this fight. From from afar, I was kind of, and my memory of the previous fight, I was kind of like, initially my gut was like, yeah, this will be for Vola by decision, wrestling based, probably pretty dominant win. But after looking into it more and watching some fights last night and stuff, digging into the tape and just digging through records a little bit more, I think I'm gonna have to switch my pick to Camacho, possibly even to get the knockout late. Um, well, maybe not even real late. Maybe like late second round. I think my pick's gonna be Camacho, second round TKO, KO, TKO. I think he's gonna be my underdog of the card probably.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I can understand that due to the fact that, with the salaries how they are this week on DraftKings, especially if you're playing GPP, you do kind of have to throw darts, basically, I feel.
It,
Um,
I switched the pick not on a dart as a dart throw or anything like that based on DK. The pick was switched before I even really dug too deep into my salaries. I only had one initial construction built, and it had Pravola. Like I said, it was just more or less the doing the homework and watching the tape. As if I'm being honest, I feel like it's the biggest factor is the level of competition. Favola got, yes, UFC level competition, but a couple of newcomers themselves. And Camacho's been around for a while. He's taken losses to guys that are resurging, like Drew Dober. You know what I mean? Taking them to decision. So I think
right.
the tank can. I think he can take the beating. You know what I mean? As far as anything that Frivola's got to throw at him with the hands. Don't get me wrong. I still fear Frivola's takedowns and chain wrestling, aggressive wrestling. If he doesn't give up with the takedown attempts, but I think if I feel like Camacho's camp may have been focused on that takedown defense and knowing that may have been the only real heavy advantage that they might have had. Like I said, it's an underdog shot for sure, but yeah, it's not based on the salaries at all. I just kind of that was a switch after digging in and digging deep. I think the veteran's going to take this one.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely get where you're coming from with the level of competition because like the names that I gave, when I was doing my breakdown, he has fought some very well known fighters in the UFC. Um, he gets hit way too much for me. I mean, he eats 7 strikes per minute, and that those add up over time. Now, if with a guy like Favola who likes to go for the finish, you know that worries me a lot. And that's the reason that I went with Favola, just because I feel like eating that many strikes per minute, that it's just something that's going to hurt Camacho eventually. But, so next fight we got here, I think we're actually on the opposite side with this one based on what you had initially sent me on DraftKings. I think we're on the opposite side pretty big here, honestly. So we got Courtney Casey versus Jillian Robertson. I'll kick this one to you first, um, and you let me know kind of what you're thinking here.
I think the Ghost of the Tape is still line at minus 125. And honestly, that's where I'd go with it. I understand that Jillian Robertson has an inside the distance chance with the submission and probably has the submission advantage if this were strictly the team match. If we were rolling somewhere, I think it'd be Jillian's night, 8 out of 10 times, But Courtney Casey's strong, man. She was top once by Usada or whatever, and it turned out to be weird or whatever, but it always raises a little bit of suspicion or whatever. Uh, but she's strong, she's long, she's got good reach. Her striking, I think it's crisp enough to add power to her shots. For most women's fighters wouldn't really have that sort of power. and I've referenced this before, but the head strikes and women's fights seem to show the most damage and seem to catch the judges' attention the most. And I think that the, the strikes thrown and landed percentage is going to be on Courtney Casey's side. And kind of a little bit like we said with the last fight, I think the one thing we know that Jillian Roberts has the upper hand in the jiu-jitsu, the submission threat. But I think if Casey's worked on her takedown defense a little, that sort of thing, where if she can keep it standing, essentially, I think she's going to accumulate a lot of strikes. Jillian Robertson's tough too. So I still see this one going the decision, like I said, which is lined at minus 125 right now. But I think Robertson may take a beating, and it may show at the end of the fight. And I think we may see Courtney Casey be one of those sneaky slate breaking fighters, just based upon the strikes. So they even credit her with 120 strikes. 60 points in strikes and 30 in the decision, 90 points on the low end. Of what I think could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do think that she probably does have the advantage on the feet. The issue is that I just don't think that she can keep it on the feet. Her takedown defense is 39%. I mean, my handicapped grandmother could take her down. Robertson averages 3.44 takedowns a fight. And that's. I don't see how she doesn't get at least 3 takedowns this fight. Against Casey, who has 39% takedown defense. Now, something that I did notice with Casey, when she does get taken down, she's very hard to advance on. So I kind of do like that line that you were talking about, the goes the distance line at negative 125. Because I don't necessarily think that Robertson will be able to win by submission. Yes, she has the chance, but I don't necessarily think that's how she's going to win. I think she'll be able to get enough takedowns. Like I said, at least 3. I could see her getting as many as 4 or 5, and getting some strikes in there and so on and so forth. That I think she wins by the decision. Right now, I have a bet on her at negative 125, and I also have her in my DraftKings lineup, I do believe. But looking at those odds, I may change it to decision, or may add that as well, just to kind of a little bit where the odds are that where they're basically the same. Since I personally don't think that Casey will get the finish. Yeah, she showed in her last fight she can get a submission, but I think Robertson is good enough on the ground that she won't get submitted like that. And I don't necessarily think that she'll get the finish against Casey either. So, but I do like her as a good value play on DraftKings, because I believe Robinson's only 300, which for her price, I think she very easily can get 80 to 100 points. So the next fight here, we got Marc-Andre Bortalt versus Oscar Piechota. This fight's a complete fade for me. I don't think either of these fighters are good at all. Both of them have looked absolutely horrible since being in the UFC. If I had to lean one way or the other, I'd probably lean Jota. Uh, just because Marc Andre has shown in the past that he seems to get hit pretty hard sometimes. But I personally don't feel comfortable uh, having either side bet on or on DraftKings, just because I don't think that really anything exciting is going to happen in the fight. Um, Neither of these fighters really sway me one way or the other, honestly, enough to bet them at all. So this is going to be a complete fake fight for me.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. I share your sentiment pretty closely, actually. Bar one element.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can, my mic dead? Can you hear me?
No, no, you're good now.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I pretty much
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
right on. I pretty much agree with you wholeheartedly on that one. Bar one element, and that's that. I think that Oscar Pihota might have a sneaky submission chance. I'm not saying a huge one, but yeah, I think I lean Pihota by more likely decision with a submission possibility. I do think I will put Pahota in one lineup because of that sneaky submission chance. Because I'm more of a GPP player. But like you said, I wouldn't invest too much in this. There's also the good odds that Pahota does. Maybe both of our leans aren't. He wins, but he doesn't score worth a hoot. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't put any real stake in it. But if you're a GPP player, maybe one Pahota lineup against Marc Andre Barrialt. I'd say you nailed it. It's a low level fight for sure. These guys are about on each other's level, I would say. So the matchmaking was decent, I guess, to fill up the card. But yeah, that's all I got on it.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I normally make 20 lineups or so on DraftKings, so I'm sure I'll have probably two or three of Pachota,
Yeah,
just because I like to try to have at least a couple of each fighter that I think could have a chance, just in case. But neither fighter is one that I will go very heavy on at all. Uh, The next fighter we got here, we got Tisha Torres versus Brianna Van Boren. I will kick this one to you first, and you let me know what you're thinking about this one.
yeah. This is. I guess I'll preface this with saying this whole card is full of fights. It could definitely go two ways. And I understand if we got viewers out there, listeners out there, if you've got a gut feeling on one of these fights that we have a lean on, uh, go your way on this. It may be what separates you from the field in this sort of card. Because I've got about probably 5 fights in this card where I'm still tossing up. I got to wait till weigh-in, kind of see how they physically look against one another. / how the lines finish settling out at the end of the week, kind of finish putting together the analytics. But this is a fight where my gut was pretty strong initially, and after tape and everything, I think I'm still. I think I remember all the past fights correctly, and I think I'm sticking with my gut, and I teach it Torres by decision. Once again, I think the veteran's just going to take it here. Tisha Torres, pretty notorious for taking it to a decision. Build wise, I remember Brianna Van Buren being fairly similar, but a wrestling based fighter. If I'm not mistaken, Daniel Cormier was singing her praises because if I'm not mistaken, she was training out of AKA. So she had a little bit of she had some wrestling success in her first match, from what I remember, but it wasn't against the highest level of competition. I mean, we could tap back here on Tapology here and give her a quick peek. We had Livia Hanata Souza, who she took to a decision. Kaylin Curran, Juliana Lima. That's a pretty good win there in Invicta. But Tisha Torres has been around for a while, man. And I know if we go back and do the same thing right now, look at Tisha Torres' record. We got 4 losses in a row. But those 4 losses are to Marina Rodriguez, who's looking like she's going to hold her place in the women's division that we often kind of talk a lot of smoke on for not being filled with the most talent. Looks like Marina Rodriguez is going to be around for a while as a true fighter in the division. Weili Zhang, who Tisha Torres took to decision. Man, anyone going to decision with Zhang has my respect. And then the loss to Joanna Jacek by decision. Jessica Andrade by decision. These are all legitimate women's fighters. And then a win against Michelle Waterson before that, a win against Juliana Lima before that, a loss by decision once again for Rose Namajunas. I think my point is pretty clear in that I just think that Tisha Torres is the real veteran here, and it's going to be too much too soon for Brianna Van Buren, who I think kind of she's taken her wins in the fight she's been given in the UFC, but I don't think they've been convincing enough for me, even at that level. I was expecting another kind of tune-up fight, if I'm being honest, not being thrown to the wolves, like kind of my opinion here. And I know we got Torres as the underdog, so I'm probably gonna have to take a straight bet prop play stab at that. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna hop on in the break here while you give your views on the fight and go ahead and add 1 unit on Torres by decision.
Yeah, I mean, my prediction is honestly pretty close to what you were thinking. Um, yes, Torres has lost, her last 4 fights, but like you said, we're talking about some of the best and the best in the women's division. So how exactly do you rate that? Is it that she's just she doesn't have it anymore, but has a great chin, or is it just because those people are so much better than anyone else in the division? Um, if I had to pick one way or the other, this fight is honestly going to be a no bet for me. If I did bet it, I'd probably put fight goes to the decision into a parlay. Um, but uh, if I had to bet one way or the other on a fighter, I'd probably lean Van Boren, just for the simple fact that she lands 4.8 strikes per minute, three takedowns per fight, and Taurus only has a 52% takedown defense. So in a fight that I think could and will very well go the distance, um, that leans me towards Van Born a little bit, just due to uh, that takedown defense. With a fight that I think that can be so close, I always do tend to lean towards the person uh, that I think can get those takedowns. Uh, because that's always something that could very well decide a fight if it's that close of a fight. But honestly, I'm probably not going to have either or much of either of these fighter on DraftKings. Um, I think Van Buren's a little bit too high price. If I remember correctly, she's like 8,700, which I think is just a little bit too high for her personally. But then again, everyone is high this week that is a favorite, it seems. Um, yeah, so I guess that's my thinking here. Fight goes to the decision. Outside of that, I don't really like the fight. Uh, So the next fight we got here um, is one that I think that I'm probably on a different side than most people here. We got Clay Guida versus Bobby Green. Now, don't get me wrong, Clay Guida is not that good at all anymore. He's he's past his prime. Uh, his submission he's great at submitting the fights, but at the same time, his like I said last week, um, his greatest ally is his biggest weakness. He's fights via submission. And Bobby Green uh, hasn't really shown me much personally. I think the fact that he's so expensive on DraftKings is a little bit baffling to me. Um, if I remember correctly, he's like the third highest priced fighter on DraftKings, which just for a fighter that yeah, he's fighting like Guida, but his DraftKings just didn't make sense to me at all. Personally, I don't think I'm gonna bet this fight. If I did, probably I'd go Green by submission, just due to the fact that the Guida has lost so many fights by submission. You can get 470. But if we're talking DraftKings, I honestly think on my GPP lineups, I probably will have at least 5 to 7 of Guida out of the 20 lineups that I make. One, just due to the fact that, you know, value is so bad this slate. And two, due to the fact that he has shown in the past that he can get that submission victory. And, you know, Green has just not shown me much at all. So that's kind of my thoughts on this fight. I think most people are obviously on Green due to him being the one of the highest paid priced fighter in DraftKings, and then as well as his odds. But I'm honestly the complete opposite on this fight. What are your thoughts?
I have a lot of similar thoughts on it, I'd say. I'm going to avoid it on fantasy sports for the most part, unless it's, like I said, one of those situations where you've got 5 fighters selected already and you're backed into, like, picking the best of 3 evils at the lower end of the salary. Yeah, I'm sorry. Is my mic cutting out here? Can you hear me now? How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know if it's yours.
Okay.
Um,
You might be having some technical difficulties, I guess. But yeah.
yeah. We'll try to work through it. It seems like there may be a little bit of a lag.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like basically I'm going with Green by decision here. I'm not going to be playing it in a DFS unless I get backed into a corner where I need Guida for he's one of the only guys I can afford because I've already picked 5 fighters, kind of like you were saying. Um, One thing these 2 fighters both show us is that they notoriously go to decisions quite often, and that they both are low scorers in daily fantasy sports. So, like you said, with Bobby Green being priced as high as he is, I could see Clay Guida at least squeezing her out to like the end of the second round. You know what I mean? So, if that finish even comes, and like you said, maybe a submission. I don't know. I don't see it happening. Like I said, I think we're going to probably stick to the stats on this one. It's probably going to decision again. And if anything, I think youth will play the advantage. And if there is a finish, it'll probably be Bobby Green. It's probably why he's priced so high. Is on the chance that he gets the finish, but it's not anything I'm really interested in.
Yeah, I don't think that they expect Guida to get the finish at all. When I was looking at the bet odds today, Guida was uh, to win via submission plus 1,400, which I gotta say, you know, for someone that has won so many fights as he has via submission, that is a little bit tempting. um, I don't think that'll happen, but plus 1,400 for how many submission victories he has had in his career, you know, that may be something that you got to throw a half a unit on or something like that, just for the what if factor.
Yeah, um, I mean, that's what those prop plays are about a lot of the times, you know what I mean? And that's why we have success a lot of times when some bets don't always, go through, is because with those prop plays, we're seeing enough value in a bet on something that is completely tangible. I mean, we see it happen week in and week out, and that's where you kind of, like I said, I'm a GPP player. You kind of make your a lot of your bread on the props, you know what I mean? But with these props, we know that a lot of times the line is so juicy and tasty that on something tangible, once again, that yeah, we can afford to miss, say, X number out of X number of plays, and it's the majority of your plays you can afford to miss on those 1 or 2 good props that cash. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've got no problem with a little a balanced investment on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't go very heavy at all.
Sure.
But and it's honestly probably not something that I'll throw anything on. But looking at it, it was one of those props that it made me think about it for a second. But the next fight we got here, we got Roosevelt Roberts versus Jim Miller. So I'll kick this one to you first. You let me know what you think, and then we'll go from there.
Man, I know this got to be frustrating as a viewer, but this is like another one where I think I have to think. You know what I mean? Like I think I need a couple more days to think. Jim Miller's always got a shot at a submission. I don't care who you put him up against. He's shown that. He's had cold spells. The guy had Lyme disease and stuff, and it seems like he's kind of like surging through that or getting things figured out in his own life or what he's got to do with his training regimens and stuff to prevail as far as like all that kind of stuff on the side goes. And yeah, like I said, we kind of look through his record and whether it's daily fantasy sports or just the numbers on his record. Um, he's a boomer bust kind of guy, you know what I mean? Because of his age, and he's got the shot where he can be put down by a lot of guys, you know what I mean, and get you point, half a point against Charles Oliveira, 10 points against Dan Hooker. 22 points against Francisco Trinaldo, and that appears to have went to a decision, third round at least. So he's a boomer bust kind of guy, but he's always got a shot. So anytime I see Jim Miller at underdog pricing, I always consider it, and I dig deep on the tape. I kind of creep around on social media and see, you know what I mean, what kind of condition are we in? What kind of conditions is his opponent in? Is his opponent taking him seriously as a fighter? Or is his opponent thinking they're getting gifted some old veteran? Because that's not the kind of attitude you roll into a fight with Jim Miller with, you know what I mean? So this fight, I mean, Yeah, Roosevelt Robert, he's got a shot at the submission himself. You know what I mean? We could see some grappling exchanges, both of them looking for that submission and seeing who's gonna end out the better jiu-jitsu practitioner that night. We could see it go to decision. These are both durable guys. You know what I mean? Um, Hell, we could even see Roosevelt Roberts knock Jim Miller out, or vice versa. Vice versa, I wouldn't really. We'll forget about that. I don't really see that happening. But I know it's a fight. So it's one of these that I need to dig deeper into for sure. I'm having a real hard time committing to the Roosevelt Roberts play, especially with pricing being so tricky this week. Pricing's tricky this week, and with Miller that close to the bottom, like I said, he's always got a shot. So I know I'm going to play at least one lineup with Miller. I also as a point for Miller, I was also not as impressed as I thought I would be with Roosevelt Roberts' performance against my buddy.
Weaver.
Yes, Brock Weaver. Thank
Weaver.
you. Brock Weaver. Yeah. So I wasn't as impressed as I thought. I was actually kind of surprised it took him that long into the second round to get the finish. I mean, it was a fairly dominant, I guess, but I don't know. I thought that one was gonna be like total shutout, to be honest. And like I said, with Jim Miller always being a dog, it's got me just kind of rethinking this one. More than likely, if I want to give you my prediction on my thoughts 2 days from now, more than likely I'll probably come to my senses and lean Roosevelt Roberts. He's got a submission chance, like I said before. Maybe decision. I don't know. It'll probably be a Roosevelt Roberts lean. It's because he's a lean. You know, man. Like I said, I have a hard time playing him in DraftKings at the price that he's at. He'll certainly see at least one lineup. I'm not saying I'm not going to play him or anything like that, but it definitely makes me think about pivoting to some of the other options or like playing a midfield salary heavy lineup. Um, yeah, I guess just not 100% confident either way right now. I could see an argument for both. I'd say probably 75% chance, that Roosevelt Roberts ends up getting it done, and Joe Miller with like a 25% underdog shot.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I said it the last time that Roberts fought. I still think the same exact thing. I think this guy is a star in the making.
For sure.
I think that his biggest weakness is what scares me the most of this fight because he doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. His takedown defense is 58%, which isn't horrible, but at the same time, it does worry me that if Miller can take him down, that is not at all where Robert wants to be this fight. Robert's path to victory this fight is not to go for the submission, not to go for the takedown. You do not want to be on the ground with Jim Miller. I think Roberts is fast enough that he can kind of pick and pop and do what he needs to do in regards to striking with Jim Miller. I think that's his path to victory this fight. I do like Roberts a lot. I don't necessarily think that he gets the finish per se. I mean, could he? Yes, but I don't necessarily see it, and I do think if it is, it's by knockout. But his price, I believe he's the second highest priced fighter on DraftKings. I don't love the price, but I understand why he is priced that way. He's someone that I probably will have on some GPP lineups. Probably won't have him in my cash lineup. But GPP, I definitely will have him in some lineups. I do like him negative 240. but I actually like him by decision a little bit better because I do think more than likely this fight does go to the decision. Yes, he does have the chance to finish it, but I think more than likely the fight stays on the feet, and he kind of does a strike volume type thing where he strikes enough to try to win by decision. I think that's his best path to victory against Miller. Um, so Roberts via decision at plus 140. I actually really like that a lot.
Yeah, I don't mind that play at all. Like I said,
So the next fight we got good. Um, I honestly, okay, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we got Bilal Muhammad versus Lyman Good. Um, I honestly think that this fight could very well be fight of the night. I think both fighters have very good potential. I do lean towards Muhammad. I think that he is the more technical fighter and the type of fighter that Good could have some issues with. Um, I personally don't love fight either fighter um, on DraftKings. I don't think they're going to score enough to really be worth much on DraftKings. If I had to pick one of the two, I'd probably go with Good, just because I think that he's a safe play on DraftKings at his price at 7,300. I think that he very well could have the 50 to 70 point range on DraftKings, at least for cash lineups. That's not too bad. Um, if you have one guy getting only 50 to 70 points, so I do think on cash lineups, Good is not a bad play. But if I had to bet the fight, I'd probably go with Muhammad via decision. I think he's not really a finisher. I don't think Good will get finished this fight. Um, I think Muhammad's just technical enough that he'll be able to kind of pick his spots and strike enough. That way he can win via decision. So Muhammad at plus 130 to win via decision, I do like that play.
Yeah, I'm not even going to take any of our airtime. I'm in 100% agree with that, and I'm going to add 1 unit to that right now.
Well,
And
that's
actually,
simple enough.
sorry, the only thing I differ from is on fantasy sports. On DK, I'll be probably going below Muhammad. I do agree that there's a chance he doesn't pay off. His full, I think it's like 8,900 or something, but I think he comes close. And like I said, salaries are weird this week to where it's kind of forcing some weird plays to where you're kind of picking the worst of some evils on the dogs, and even I feel like you're kind of forcing the hand a little bit on some of your mid-range plays or whatever. But that's the only difference I have is that in lieu of Good on DraftKings, I will probably go Muhammad.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying that I love Good on DraftKings.
Sure, it's pretty
I
close.
mean, I like them probably evenly, honestly, on DraftKings. But I think if I had to pick one of the two, especially in a cash lineup, where you're trying to find at least one value play, that way you can get those Blaydes, you can get those Greens, you can get those Roberts. Um, I could see putting Good in a lineup just because I think that there is a very good chance that this fight goes to the distance. And if it does go to the distance, I think that uh, Good could get, like I said, 50 to 70 points with strikes and stuff of that nature. That I think he's a safe play for cash lineups. I don't necessarily think he'll win, um, but I don't think he'll hurt you in cash lineups either. So the next fight we got here, we got Marion Renew versus Raquel Pennington. I'll kick this one to you. What do you think about this one?
Marion Renault versus Raquel Pennington. I think this is a rough card, man. I mean, I don't like to be one of those guys that bashes on a card and stuff, but I think this is a rough card. Uh, that's kind of why I had hinted. I'm not one that likes to jump ahead of schedule or whatever, but that's kind of why I hinted last week. Blaydes at minus 250 when he was there. I hope we all jumped on that last week because that was our value. Marion Renault versus Raquel Pennington. Marion Renault, I respect her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, actually. I respect it quite a bit. I just feel like at her age, her only real effectiveness or real shot at taking down a UFC level fight and taking home the win is probably about in the first round or early second round. And then I feel like that grip's about gassed out on her. And she's just as prone as any other woman in modern day UFC to going to the decision. Raquel Pennington, once again, this is another case of the veteran, man. I think it's still going to go decision, and I think everyone's going to be able to argue that their side won on this or that the decision was contentious in some way, shape, or form. But I think Raquel Pennington's experience is probably going to get her to the decision in this. I think it's going to be low scoring on daily fantasy sports. I'm not going to play either of them. I'm not going to. I might bet the goes to decision on this. I don't even think I'll mess with picking a side on the goes to decision, although I do think it will be probably Pennington by decision. It's probably best just to say goes to decision and move on.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same way, honestly. I think you could make a case for Renault on DraftKings if you're looking for a GPP play that could give you some value, just because she does have knockout power. But that it's a stretch. In regard to betting, I do 100% agree with you. Fight goes to the distance. Now it is negative 278, so it's not really something that I want to place a straight bet on. But I absolutely could see myself putting that in a parlay. Between these two fighters, they average almost 13 minutes a fight. So, I don't really see why this wouldn't go the extra 2 minutes and go to the decision. Or if you really want to, just to be safe, put it as the over 2.5. You get a little lesser odds, but with their fights combined normally going the 13 minutes, that makes it a little more safe if you're really worried about if finishing in the last 2 minutes. If I had to pick one way or the other betting wise, I'd probably lean Pennington, just due to the fact that at least her losses have been against some of the best of the best. But at the same time, since that Nunez loss, she just hasn't really looked the same. So yeah, I'm exactly with you. DraftKings wise, I'll probably fade this fight for the most part, just because I don't think either of them really is gonna do much on DraftKings. And betting wise, if anything, I'll probably go with the fight goes to the decision and add it into a parlay. Versus Shane Vargas on this fight. So I'm curious to think about this one.
Oh man, Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgo. This is another one of those that I haven't fully. You know what? Man, I see both sides to this one. I think I have kind of settled in. Probably once again, guess it on the veteran here. I might go with Josh Emmett on this one. I think to land a probably heavy counter maybe. This one's, and I'm not even real confident, man. Like I said, I could see either guy winning this. One thing I do see happen is this being one of the daily fantasy sports fights of the night. So, unfortunately, unfortunately for me, I'll probably have to hedge it to have any shot of like having a GPP lineup. Make it with one of these guys on it. Because I can't confidently say either way. I mean, I could see how either way. Like I said, I could see Burgos taking the decision by volume and being light on the feet, fast enough to avoid the power shots. I could see Emmett countering and getting the knockout. He's the bulkier guy. I could see Emmett taking advantage of a wrestling advantage, I guess, to be a little redundant. But yeah, I think Emmett's could probably have the wrestling advantage. The BJJ advantage, possibly Burgos. I don't know. Maybe even there. Maybe even in the BJJ category. It's a super awesome matchup. I think. I think it's a good test for Burgos to see what level he's truly at. Emmett training with all those guys that he's been training with all these years out at Team Alpha Male, man, always got a shot. That guy's very serious. He's given up a lot. He's sacrificed a lot, like most fighters do, to be at this level. But some guys sacrifice more than others, and it shows. Just in the physique, you can tell. I mean, and Emmett's talked about it before. Just how just thankful to his wife and everything for the kind of work that he has to put in to achieve at this sort of level and stuff. So the guy's super serious, and when I know a guy's super serious like that, I have a little more faith in taking a dog shot on him. So I think that's where I may make some value for myself, some salary room this week, is maybe with a couple plays on Emmett. I know for a fact I've got a DraftKings lineup right now with Burgos in it. Like I said, for me, it's going to be I have to hedge and hope situation. So if anyone else out there has any hotter takes on it or stronger leans than me, go that route.
Oh, well, I'll say right now, I'm that one with the stronger lead. I absolutely love Burgos. Um, he is my top bet of the week. I think him at negative. I got him at negative 135. He's up to negative 140 now. He's absolutely my bet of the week. I have at least two units on him right now. I may even put a third on it. I just think that he's going to be able to overwhelm Emmett on pure volume. The guy throws over 7 strikes per minute, and yeah, he does eat 5 strikes per minute as well. But at the same point, Emmett doesn't really throw that many strikes per minute. He throws a little over 3 strikes per minute. He gets hit with about 4 strikes per minute. So um, he doesn't really throw enough for me to be too worried about Burgos getting really affected by the strikes unless he does throw a counter and clip him. I think that Emmett will try to get the fight to the ground, but I don't think he's going to be able to necessarily because Burgos does have a 90% takedown defense, which is something that you just can't really, have. 90% takedown defense. Emmett's going to have a really hard time taking him down to the ground. I think that this is going to be a fight that's going to stay on the feet. It's going to, be a lot of striking, and I think Burgos does win by decision. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the knockout, but the odds on that aren't high enough to make it worth my while in regards to going that route. So I will have Burgos on a good amount of DraftKings lineups. I probably will have Emmett in a few just to hedge, like you said, just as the what if, because this card you have to try to make value somewhere, especially if you're doing multiple GPP lineups. But my main play, and probably my favorite play of this slate is Burgos. So the next fight we got here, we got the main event of the night, 5-round fight. I do not see this fight going 5 rounds at all. But we got Curtis Blaydes versus Alexander Volkov. I know you have been pushing Blaydes, for weeks now. Talking about getting him into parlays and stuff like that well before this card really was coming up. I am 100% on you with that. I do think that he absolutely will win. I think that the only person really can give Blaydes a chance for a fight right now is named Francis, and he ain't coming through that door. Volkov could not even knock out an ex-NFL player in Greg Hardy. Now, don't get me wrong, Greg Hardy has shown that he has a great fucking chin, but come on, man. If you can't knock out Greg Hardy, how are you going to knock off Curtis Blaydes? When he is a much more advanced MMA fighter, he has the takedown game, he has the striking game. I would very well be surprised if this fight got out of the second round. I think that Blaydes is going to be able to take him down. I think he's going to be able to strike and very well probably knock Volkov out. I do worry a little bit that if the fight somehow does get into the third, fourth, fifth round, that Blaydes' cardio could not be the greatest. But that's my opinion. Blaydes' salary at 9,400, it's a little bit tough on DraftKings, just due to the fact that there really is not much value at all as we've gone about it on this slate. So I struggle getting Blaydes in my cash lineup. I have him in it right now, but at the same time, putting him in my cash lineup is forcing me to put Volkov in my cash lineup as well and stack the main event. So I struggle getting him into a cash lineup, but I think GPP, you absolutely can get him in there if you don't mind going with some of the lesser plays. Betting wise, he's getting to the point now. He's not negative 250 anymore. Unfortunately, he's negative 400 now. So he's no longer at a place where you can just bet him straight up. At negative 400, he's absolutely a parlay piece. But something I do really like as well is inside the distance at negative 175. Because I personally don't see how this fight doesn't end inside the distance. I don't think this is going to be like last week's main event that goes the full 5 rounds. So inside the distance at negative 175, I really like that. It's the same exact odds as finish by KO TKO. You may as well take inside the distance if you're going to do that because, just in case he gets the submission, you may as well take the same exact odds.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, believe it or not. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And I was just saying last week how we all bet in units like any other better. But I don't always, you know what I mean? When something comes along that seems too good to be true, I'll drop some loot on it, bro. I'm not trying to make up for the bad bets, you know what I mean? So this is one of those situations. I was like, Curtis Blaydes minus 250 until we bled that dry. As soon as they pumped us up to what do we say it was now? It's something like
It's negative 400 now.
minus 400 now. I as soon as I saw the line for the inside the distance prop, I saw it at minus 240, right? Blaydes inside the distance. I went ahead and what did I do? I put $400 down, I think. I had to do several a series of bets for 5 dimes to get all my wagers in. But I bet $400 on Blaydes on inside the distance at minus 240. And after I got done betting Blaydes with $400 at minus 240, the line dropped to minus 175. So, hey,
Yeah,
fuck,
you
fuck with
moved
me,
it, I
though.
guess.
Fuck it, man. I'll go. They want to come at me like that. I ain't shook, bro. I'll come at it with another 300 tomorrow. If they want to play around. Blaydes inside the distance, minus 175. Get that money. Yeah, I mean, you broke it down. Well, we don't have to say anything else about this, man. Volkov is out of his league here. He's gonna get wrestle fucked until excuse the language there, but you know what I mean. He's gonna get wrestled until he's TKO'd with elbows or fists or Americana or you know what I mean. He does not stand a chance here. This is one of those situations where I'll tell casuals that I work with or whatever that might be into some sort of investing, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? This is one of those situations where I'll mention UFC and gambling, sports wagering as legitimate investing. With just like I talk about the stocks in the morning. You know what I mean? I'll let my buddies know. Hey, you know what I mean? Curtis Blaydes inside the distance, minus 175.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm the same exact way. I mean, I would be very surprised if this fight does not end inside the distance. If it died the distance, Volkov is going to win, plain and simple, in my opinion. Because I think that Blaydes hasn't shown the cardio to be able to last a 5 round fight. So, if it gets past the third round, I think Volkov could very easily win. But I don't see it going past the second round, honestly. All right, yeah. So I mean, that's the picks. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get the article out tonight. I have it mostly typed out. I just have to do a last couple things. So in regard, I assume I know your pick now, based on how excited you were about this bet. But in regard to your top bet of the night to put into the article. I personally put down the Burgos bet. I feel that even though I love the inside the distance prop, I do think that the Burgos one is still my top bet of the night. But what is your top bet of the night?
It was Curtis Blaydes at minus 250, but I knew we wouldn't make it there. So Curtis Blaydes inside the distance, minus 175. Hit it up. I still really like a couple of those women's fights to go to decision. Yeah, this is one of those cards where we are trying to squeeze out value. You know what I mean? So, because it's definitely a tough one. I feel like it's a crapshoot, even on DK. It's a real kind of like lottery ticket kind of week. One of those weeks though, where if you come correct and do your homework, man, this is one of those weeks where you could take all that money by yourself. Don't even got to share with no one.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it will be like last week, where last week the splits were absolutely horrible. One of my buddies, Tyler, actually, Ty Slice.
Yeah.
He went in with one of his friends and won the $15 GPP, the max one. That the first prize was supposed to be $500K. He ended up splitting with so many people that he took home $2,000. $2,000. It dropped from $500K to $2,000.
Give me that.
Which, don't get me wrong, that's a great day, but
give me that second place.
I mean, how pissed must you be if you think that you're going to win $500K and you split with so many damn people that it drops down to $2,000.
No, I think we've seen it before that where that situation is played out, and literally second or third place takes home more money than you for a lineup where you scored more than the dude because he didn't have to
Yeah.
split it with that many people in second or third place.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know the GPP that I normally play in the $3.20 max. Last week was supposed to be, I think, 7,000 to first place, and it got split with so many people that first place ended up being $300.
Yeah, that's rough. It's kind of
Like
that's a great
that.
it's a great point for honestly for catching a new perspective in this whole daily fantasy sports MMA or whatever it is. It's even more reason to be catching our podcast and our takes while it's free, because once again we're not new at this, you know what I mean. We're just a couple of guys that were like, hey, you know, we can talk about doing it forever, we're gonna do it, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So we're giving
absolutely.
out awesome free advice every week, you know what I mean. Check it out, add it to your analytics, draw averages from it. You know what I mean? Play these plays. We're making money right now. It's like I said, it's like Baccarat. Ride it while it's on a hot streak. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Get out there, take this
Absolutely.
advice, put some money on it, get your money. You know what I mean? Um, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, all right. Well, it was great to break down these fights once again. Like always, you can follow me at RSCMMA89, and you can follow you at.
at it reads like Kodama Ranks at KODAMARENKSE on Twitter.
All right. And also make sure that you are checking out 100yardreport.com. We started dropping articles last week for them. Very first article, our picks and all that stuff, killed it. We killed the slate with our picks, as well as the bets and stuff like that all hit. Like I said, I made 10 units last week on betting. So make sure that you're following us on all avenues, not just the podcast, not just the Twitter page, not just the articles. Make sure you're following us on all avenues. That way you get all of the information that we are providing, and let's make that money.
For sure. We'll catch y'all later.